Hey everyone, Bobby Sawyer here with Sawyer and Associates. Welcome back to our weekly probate case study series. Today we're looking at a situation that happens more often than people think. Surviving spouse who was in the process of getting a divorce when her husband suddenly passed away. No will has been found. There's an adult daughter living in London, England, and the wife wants to sell the property but has almost no information about his finances or assets. In this South Carolina case, the client needs to get appointed as personal representative so she can investigate what exists, handle any debts, and ultimately sell the land. The good news, as a surviving spouse, even though she was contemplating divorce, she still has strong priority under intestate law to be the administrator for the estate. As usual, we're keeping every detail fully anonymized for privacy, but the facts are real and they show exactly how we help people and exactly how we get the ball rolling. Quick list disclaimer per usual. This is for educational purposes only. This is not legal advice. I am not your lawyer. Chances are I'm not even licensed in your estate. Every estate is different. Don't assault an attorney. Always consult an attorney licensed in the state where you're thinking about probate, and results will vary. All right, let's dig in. So the case background here. Like I said, the client's husband passed away recently, about 2 months ago on May 12th, 2026. She had been planning to file for divorce, but he died before she could complete the process. They had been living in separate homes for some time. He kept everything very private. P.O. box for mail, and our client knew virtually nothing of his finances, debts, or even the exact status of the property that she's looking to sell. She knows that the decedent had an adult daughter living in London from a prior relationship, and that there is some land and a vehicle. She does not believe he had a will. The land appears to be in his name only, and her goal is straightforward: get the probate process started, sell the property, and close the estate cleanly. Because there is no will, like I mentioned a moment ago, this is an intestate estate. Under South Carolina law, the surviving spouse and the adult child will split everything 50-50. As the surviving spouse, she has priority to serve as personal representative. So just a quick recap on the timeline there. May 12th, 2026, husband passes away. Now, looking to get probate opened with limited information, and the goal, like we said, is getting our client appointed as the personal representative or administrator, investigate the assets, petition to sell the land, and estate. So the core problem, the biggest challenges here are very common in these situations. No will has been located, so we must proceed as intestate. The client has had almost no information about assets, debts, or even the exact ownership of the land. The adult daughter lives in London, so communication and getting her on board will take extra time and care. And something most people don't realize is that getting something notarized in a foreign country can be very difficult, depending on where they are, to have access to a U.S. embassy or anything along those lines. Those are all complicating factors there. Wants to sell the property, but currently has no legal authority to do it, and insurance, maintenance, and any potential sale are all on hold until someone officially appointed. Without court-appointed authority, she can't access the accounts, investigate what exists, or move forward with selling the land. The separation adds a layer of emotional complexity, but legally she is still the surviving spouse with strong rights. So the red flags we're seeing here: recent death, no will, surviving spouse was separated at the time of death, an adult daughter in London, and very limited knowledge of assets or debts. And client wants to sell the property, but does not have the authority to do it. So here are some of her questions in the discussion we had with her. Her question: how do I even start when I don't know what he owned or owed? We explained that by getting her appointed as a personal representative. Once appointed, usually we can get that done within 6 to 8 weeks. She gains legal authority to access accounts, pull records, and investigate everything. We help her gather the information that the court requires for the inventory. How long will this cost? How long will this take, and what will it cost? Well, for an uncontested intestate matter, we quoted a flat fee of $6,250, and we also provide a discount upfront if you pay in full, so a 20% discount for $5,000. She qualifies for a further 10% veteran discount. And we also, on some cases, offer in-house financing to try to make it affordable for clients, because we understand how important to get probate done, or how important it is to complete the probate process, and we want to try to make it as accessible as possible for all our clients. Additionally, because there is no will directing the sale of the land, we will need to petition the court for permission to sell, and that carries an additional 3% fee on the sale of the property for petitioning the court and services related to that. She also asked, will I be able to sell the land? Yes. Once appointed, we can petition the court for permission to sell. We're typically successful when we can show that it's in the best state, for example, to pay creditors, pay down debts, or because maintaining it doesn't make sense. And in this case, maintaining it doesn't make sense simply because the owner's passed away and our client is not interested in purchasing it, and the other heir is not in the country. The daughter in London will be notified and given an opportunity to be heard, but as the surviving spouse, she's in the driver's seat. So here's our solution and the next steps. Once she signs our engagement agreement and makes payment, we'll schedule an initial session with our paralegal to get the ball rolling. We'll file the proper petition in the proper court, South Carolina County Court, to open the estate and appoint her as the personal representative. Once appointed, help investigate assets and debts, bank accounts, land records, vehicle, possible pension or survivor benefits. File a petition with the court regarding to sell the property, and then handle the creditor notice process and work towards final distribution, which, as mentioned previously, is half to the surviving spouse and half to the daughter living in London. So, key takeaways and viewer tips if you find yourself in the probate process. One, even if when you know almost nothing about the appointed as a personal representative, gives you the legal power to investigate and take control. Number two, a surviving spouse has strong priority under intestate law, even if you were separated at the time of death. And number three, if you can find a firm that offers flat fee pricing for straightforward probate cases or uncontested probate cases, that's going to make your life a lot easier and your costs are known. And finally, a pro tip, if your spouse passes and you're unsure about assets or whether there's a will, do not wait. The sooner you get probate and get appointed, the sooner you can protect the property, investigate what exists, and move forward with your life. So that's today's real but anonymized probate case study. Even when information is limited and emotions are high, getting the right person appointed with clear authority can unlock the entire process. If you're a surviving spouse dealing with a son-in-law separation, or you're involved in a state where you don't have all the answers, drop a comment drop a question in the chat right now. I'll try to answer as many as I can, or I'll follow up later. Or shoot us an email. Email's floating along the bottom down there. hello@sawyer-law.com. Next week, we'll be back with another real case study. Make sure you hit follow and subscribe. So you don't sit. And final disclaimer, this is for purposes only. This is not legal advice. Always work with an attorney licensed in the state in which you are. Thanks for joining us. This has been Bobby Sawyer with Sawyer & Associates, and I'll see you next week for our next case study.